newcomers, and welcome back to Aeternia. I'm AP, and today we are on our very first episode of Conversation Nation. Our episode today is going to be talking about national identity, specifically for our nation, the Empire of Aeternia. In future videos, I'd really like to make a series where we go and talk about how to break down starting a nation and creating an identity for yourself. But as for right now, we're going to specifically talk about ideas for the Empire of Aeternia and how to sort of grow our own national identity and add things that'll give us sort of a starting idea of where to go from here. So let's get into it. Our very first thing that we're going to talk about is our national flag. Now, as you can see behind me, we have our little symbol here. That's going to probably be on our flag. That'll be our very first thing. But as well, we want to get feedback as far as colors, as far as design, if we want new words on the flag, or if we just want it to be a symbol that represents all of us. We also are starting to have our debate on national animal, which will be the next thing that's coming up. So we currently have two ideas, one being the narwhal, the other one being the owl, that we're trying to decide against for which one is going to represent Aeternians. So please definitely join the stream and let us know what you're thinking about that, whether you prefer the narwhal, if you feel like the narwhal represents you, or whether you feel the owl is most close to your heart. So we're going to go ahead and continue here and just talk about that. When you create a flag and just a national identity in general, it's sort of difficult because you want to have something that really grasps people's attention and really gets people to understand exactly what your nation is about from the beginning. Are you a peace-loving people? Are you a creative people? Are you a very kind people? And all of that sort of comes into what our national identity is and makes that important decision that seems kind of silly at the beginning, narwhal versus owl, something that will in the long run be a very big deal. So aside from national flag and national animal, the next thing is national language. A lot of countries, like for example, France has French, Britain has English, things like that. A lot of countries have very specific national languages. Now, one interesting thing about the United States is that they have the idea that it is no specific national language. And the reason for that is so that anybody from all over the world can come to your nation. Hey, what's going on? We have one viewer. Glad to see you on the stream. But like I was saying, a lot of countries have one specific language that they deal with. But in the US, you have English, and not just English, you have no national language actually that's described as their official national language. So I think in Aeternia, we'd like to do something similar. We'd like to be all inclusive and show everybody that you can come from anywhere and feel included. So we're going to do the idea that we have all national languages. Any language that is a language that you speak is our national language, is considered our national language. So if you speak Chinese, our national language is Chinese. If you speak English, our national language is English. If you speak French, our national language is French. It is every language. Continuing on from that, national food, drink, and cuisine. We really need to find something that Aeternians like to eat and to drink and what they enjoy doing. So that's very important to us as far as deciding what people tag us with. Like, for example, the French have French bread and snails, escargot. The British have tea and crumpets and things like that. So defining, and Italians have Italian food, spaghetti, pasta. So defining things for us that really attach us to something, attach us to a food, attach us to a way of life, a design, a desire is really important for defining who we are as a people. And that'll become more important as we go on. So I don't know. What would you guys say is the national food or drink of Aeternia? What's the important thing that defines us? That's definitely going to be important coming up. Another thing is national sports and pastimes. What is something that is really defining for a national sport, a national pastime. What's something that you really like? For myself, I'm really a big video game person, so definitely video games would be a national pastime of Aeternia. It would be something that I feel like everybody sort of likes, whether you're a strategy gamer, whether you're a football gamer, whether you're whatever, a shooting gamer. Games can definitely be a big thing that define a nation and can specifically be known as like a national pastime, whether that be sports, whether that be whatever. So that's definitely important in defining what a nation is and how people think of your nation. When they immediately think Aeternia, for example, what do they think of? What food do they think of? What types of games do they think of? So that's definitely going to be something that comes up quite a bit. Another thing that'll be a little bit farther in the future, not quite yet, but we're thinking about getting there, is a national anthem. It's very important that we don't just rip off somebody else's work and take something that someone else made, but something that's really unique to us. So I don't think we quite have the capability for that unless you guys have some amazing musical talents that you'd like to share, and some things that are very fundamental to what you feel like Aeternia is about. But as of right now, I don't have any. So finding exactly what that national anthem will be is going to be really important. It's going to be taking time to find the right sound, to find maybe the right voice even, to express that will be important in the future. Going off of that, we have the national events and holidays. What would you guys want to be a national event or a holiday for Aeternia? If you could come up with any idea for a um, for a holiday, what would that be? How do you feel like you would want to celebrate in Aeternia? It's definitely going to be a big deal. For me, I mean, there are generally like the normal holidays, things like Christmas, things like New Year's, things that just sort of come up through the calendar, through people's ideas on like religion and history and politics and all those sorts of things. But I'd like to find something that's really specific to Aeternia, something that like maybe gets brought up on the channel, maybe gets defined just by who we are, just from talking or whatever. I'd really love to see how that turns out, and to see whether we can create a unique holiday or a unique brand-specific day for who we are and what Aeternia and what celebrating life and all of these things means for us as a people, as a YouTube community. And so those are basically the things that I wanted to talk about as far as what defines us is the real question of this stream and the real question of this show today. What defines us as a people? What do we make ourselves known for in the world? And how can we grow that into a national identity that makes people say, hey, you're Aeternian? Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you checking it out. And I'm excited to see where we go from here. Please drop a comment. Please let me know what you think about what our national identity is and what we are describing ourselves to be, how we give people the knowledge and the understanding of who we are and what we represent. Just like the idea of the narwhal versus the owl, which one is important to you? Which one represents you as an Aeternian citizen? So besides that, I just want to give a little bit of an update for the future. What we're going to try and do as well, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I want to take this idea of breaking down what it takes to be a nation and how people go about creating nations, national identities, go about creating everything that it takes to envelop a people and daily activities and design for businesses and design for strategy for marketing and all these things that it takes to become a nation, and designing that into a video series. So that'll be something coming up to look forward to on the channel. And to, if you want to create your own nation, to decide on how you're going to go about doing that. It'll be a step-by-step series that'll have several videos that are in between instructional and creative and just defining what it is that you want and how to go about that in a relatively easy manner. A lot of YouTube videos that I've noticed have like a beginning where, and we'll do it too, just defining that basic start out where it's like, flag, government, and name, things like that, symbols, that'll just be starting out to sort of give you an identity, but then going beyond that, going more in depth. There's not a whole lot about it on YouTube, and there's not a whole lot about it in general, because I think that's where a lot of nations start to break down, is at least micronations, is not being able to continue past that, not being able to say, well, this is us, this is what we go out and do, this is how we go out and approach things in the world. A lot of micronations get very advanced, and they'll have currencies, they'll have diplomatic designs for the way that they approach other nations and the way that they approach people for recruitment and things like that. They'll even go so far as to try and make up their own languages and things. So some get pretty complex culture-wise, but I'd like to see what we can do to make a real impact in the world and to design things for ourselves that define us as a nation, but also create a spur of interest in us that is something unique from other nations, that people say, hey, that's Aeternia. You can't get that anywhere else. It is strictly Aeternian. Thank you all for watching the stream. I hope to see you next time.